My name is Wynn, and you have arrived at Intelligent Infinity. This website is dedicated to telling you the story of what happened to me starting in 2002 when a voice began communicating to me that said they created the physical universe. I had the opportunity to ask many questions, and they answered very patiently. There's been a lot of phenomena and miracles that couldn't happen by the normal laws of the physical universe, and I hope you'll take this time to check me out thoroughly, kick my tires. This work has changed the lives of many people. Thanks for visiting.
This moment has been a very long time in coming. We are the Council of On. We are a subset of the Council of the Elohim. The earth is under our care, is under our auspice of diligent oversight, gentle persuasion, correction, if we can do so without violating that which is paramount, being free will.
Both Daphne and I had connections with spiritual ideas, and I decided to do a prayer of protection for safe driving. And after the prayer, like a joke, I said, "Does anybody want to talk to me?" And she answered and said, "We're here. Do you have questions?" I thought she was kidding. I thought she was playing along. I was in the middle of writing the book, The Reincarnation of Edgar Cayce, about David Wilcock, and I thought she was taking that and playing with me. But I asked some questions for about 5 minutes, and she answered. I don't remember what I asked, but I know at the end of this experience, she said, "That's the strangest thing that ever happened to me." We continued on our drive and arrived in Portland, probably 24 hours afterwards. I don't know that I expected an answer when I asked it. I thought that event on the road on Highway 5 was a one-time anomaly. But they answered. And I asked questions, and I said, how come my friend can do this? And they said, your friend's from another dimension. She came here to bring these messages in, and this is a very important connection. In fact, they called her an Outpost Messenger. Well, I was thinking maybe she was schizophrenic. Maybe there was part of her that was making this up. So I did a little test, and I asked them if they could predict a newspaper headline in advance. And they said they could. And they said, watch for this headline in 2 weeks on the weekend. And 2 weeks later, there was the headline. So they really had my attention now. So for the next 6 months, whatever else we were doing, Daphne would tap me, interrupt me, and say, those guys want to talk to you again. And all they said was to ask them questions. And I asked questions about many things. Many people believe we're going through a shift right now, a shift on the planet relating to the 212 Mayan prophecies. I asked them about the shift. And then, at a certain point, I get a call from my brother-in-law, and he says, my sister is going into the hospital, and they don't think she'll survive. Well, I asked them if they could help my sister. They said they could, and my sister survived this critical operation. And I thought it was coincidence. But a few weeks later, I got another call from my brother-in-law, and he said something really strange happened. Joanne had to go in for tests, and the nurse said there was no cancer, but there was something wrong with the test because her lupus disappeared, and lupus never goes away. And apparently they tested her a few times and couldn't measure her lupus. Well, at this point, I was willing to think that there was some kind of intervention. And we went back and did a session, and I asked them, how did you do that? And they said, we projected a filter into her blood and filtered the lupus out. And I was pretty struck because now I had a miracle on my hands, and it was pretty astounding. Over a period of about 6 months in 2002, I would say from April to September, we did about 13 sessions, and they were all on cassette tape recordings, and we would do them, and I would just put them in a pile. I didn't even have time to listen to them, and I really wasn't sure the significance of it. And Daphne was going through a period of great discomfort, and she was a little bit apprehensive, a little bit scared. And after 6 months, in September of 2002, she left. And I just put all the tapes in a box and left them there. And I figured this was the end of it. Well, 4 weeks later, I called my old friend, and I asked her if she'd consider coming over. And I had kind of a broken heart, and she did. And in the middle of the night, she woke me up, and she asked me to get the tape recorder out. And I said no. And a voice started coming through her that said it was the same source, and that what I was doing was really important, and I could reach them through Terry. So these conversations have been going on now for quite some time, and I've got to ask many unusual questions. Many of the questions that you might be curious about. How does prayer work? How did the physical realm get started? And they don't really talk to me as God. They were a bunch of energies prior to the physical universe and they learned to concentrate their energies to create persistence. Prior to that, there was no persistence. There's been a number of things that have occurred that finally made me think that they really were who they said they were. And one of them was, I asked the question at one point, was Terry ever anybody famous? And they don't answer every question just because I'm curious. They answer questions to give me guidance, and I think to help build trust in this connection. And so when I said, was Terry ever anybody famous? They said, look up St. Catherine of Siena. So I Googled St. Catherine, who lived around 1300 AD, and I found the story of this young woman who would go into the local church, and the nuns and the priests would write down everything she said because they thought God was speaking to them through her. And St. Catherine's dialogues with God are actually still published, still find it on Amazon, still recognized by the Central Church Authority, and Terry was the spitting image of St. Catherine. I had learned through my work with David Wilcock and the reincarnation of Edgar Casey is that people tend to look like their past lifetimes because when you die, your soul memorizes your DNA, and so when it comes into the new fetus, it programs the new fetus with the DNA of the past lifetime. Thank you for listening. This is only the briefest of introductions. I decided that this work was so important that I was going to put it out for free to the extent that I could afford to. So if you go on the right side of the screen, there's a little button where you can download the book, The Creator Gods of the Physical Universe Want to Talk to You. You can read the whole story, and half the book is actually dialogues where I've asked some of the questions that you might have about how the big picture works. I tell people, please don't approach this believing that they are who they say they are. Just approach it with curiosity. I know many people have belief patterns and points of view, and I don't mean to contradict or challenge anyone's beliefs. I'm only sharing my experience and these voices that have been talking to me, and let you draw your own conclusions. I do know that we have a lot of people that are paying attention to this work and are having amazing things and transformations and even miracles occur for them. And it's an explanation that makes a lot more sense in current sophisticated times than many of the traditional explanations of how things work. So again, I wish you a good day, and I hope you'll download my book. You'll get invited to our conference calls. You can kick the tires, you can listen to us, you can draw your own conclusions. And for some of you, it's going to change your life.